You know, I didn't really know fully that I was, what I was getting into when I joined the Army. I got lucky, and I got good test scores, and they let me work on helicopters. Right, is pretty much how it happened.
So what year was this?
97.
97. Joined the Army. 18 years old.
17.
17 years old.
17 years old. I know. And that was it, man. You know, I went in the Army, went into training, and before then I wasn't like an extrovert kid. I wasn't loud or too outgoing. I was kind of quiet to myself, and I think I still am for the most part. But the Army kind of helped me come out of my shell, and I excelled. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun in the Army, dude. And when I first joined, I was a mechanic, and I was always a mechanic, just different phases of maintenance, as I progressed through the Army. But got into flight, and still always was attached to maintenance, but flying was my primary job, and that was it. I kind of fell in love with the whole idea of flying and things that fly, and it was just my profession. It was just what I knew, and so when I got out, naturally, I didn't know anything else. So
and during that time, what was the percentage of Hispanics flying?
Dude, I was the only.
You were the only?
Yeah, only Hispanic in my company. Actually, in my battalion, there was two other Latinos. One guy was, what was his name, man? Castillo. He was from Florida. He was a Panamanian guy. He was cool. Yeah, he was cool. We used to ask him if he swam or shit in the canal. I don't know. That's so fucked up, right? I don't know why. I know that's fucked up. But they used to ask him that shit all the time. And who else was there? There was a couple Hispanic guys, but not much. And to get from maintenance into flight is even less Hispanics, right? And so yeah, it was just, and it wasn't too challenging. The Army was pretty open. I didn't really experience any, at least not that I recognized, any racism.
It was direct relation to skill.
Pretty much. That's all the Army gives a shit about, right? Is if you can do it, if you can get it done, then they don't give a shit, what color you are or
what language you speak.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are a few guys that, but it's really not the Army's, not the military's way. Even if there was someone like that, you just be like, fuck off,
Yeah.
Do what you're going to do anyway. Nobody really, it's not the Army's way. So
at least during that time, right?
At least during that time,
at least
exactly.
during that time, yeah.
At least during that time, which was great because that's really what helped me, overcome barriers that, like now in the civilian world, I'm here in the desert, and I do experience, a racism, and I just don't really pay it any attention. I'm just like,
you're too busy to
exactly, yeah,
to spend time or
to give a
cry
shit
about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah.
Okay, you don't want to use me. Cool.
It's fine.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
And so you're in the Army, and what happens? You go to war. You go on missions. What's the first challenging experience you live in the Army?
We got orders to go into Macedonia. Our sister company, B Company, was in Macedonia serving a UN mission. And so all the helicopters were painted gloss white. They were all wearing those baby blue berets, and big conflict started breaking out. And so B Company had to get pulled out, and we had to get inserted, and the whole profile changed. We're going in as like combat ready. Like our mission wasn't peacekeeping anymore. It was combat, right? We're a fighting element that was getting put in place.
Was this public? Like people?
No.
Nobody knew about this?
Oh no, not at all. No,
because the UN was involved, right?
Because the UN was involved, right? But the UN had, basically the U.S. said, "Fuck UN rules. We're not playing by those rules anymore. People are shooting at us, so we're gonna shoot back." So we flew down to Italy, and we jumped over was it Bering Sea? Mm-hmm. Jumped over into Kosovo at the time, former Yugoslavia.
Damn, man, that must have been fun, right?
It was crazy.
How old were you during that time?
I was like 19.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, I know. But it was crazy because at the time we thought that we were expecting all these surface-to-air missiles and all this, enemy contact as soon as we, cross the border. And so we were prepared for that, right? We flew in with, large amounts of weapons and ammunition, and huge capabilities. Nobody was there. We flew in. Yeah, no,
you guys were prepared, but nothing
we were prepared, but nothing happened. So that was one of my early experiences with war. It wasn't for a couple months. We jumped in and we ended up living in Macedonia for a while, and then Macedonia, we jumped into Kosovo, which are all former Yugoslavia states, and it's all broken apart now. And
what was the name of the guy that was making all the mess happen?
His name was Milosevic.
That was the guy.
Milosevic, yeah. He was a real dickhead.
He was an extremist, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, at least our government said so, right?
Okay,
exactly.
That's what the news said.
yeah. But he was basically killing. He was a Christian guy killing off Muslims, and which was super smart of Bush to do. We went in and actually were protecting Muslims, and so that was my first experience with war and actual combat. And
so you got to use your gun during that time?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Later on, as time went on, in different places in former Yugoslavia, Milosevic was a real happening spot. Bonstil, Kosovo, on the Serbian border, we had a lot of action in that area too, and it was crazy. I mean, the Russians showed up one day out of nowhere, and everybody was on the airfield. Everyone drew their guns, and we're like
a shit show.
It was kind of a shit show, like a UN NATO shit show, right?
Everybody just pointing fingers, like you're the bad guy. No, you're the bad guy, kind of shit.
It was crazy, dude.
That's crazy, bro.
But
then after that, you guys everything settled in there.
Well, I left. I understand they're still occupying, that whole area. Kosovo is still a military base, and I think it will be for a long time. But I left there. I left Germany, and after that, I went back to Kosovo 2 more times. When from Macedonia, I went to Kosovo 2 more times after that in the Army with 1st Infantry Division, and then got stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. Went to Fort Hood, Texas, and almost immediately went into Iraq in 2003.
Right after from that to Iraq.
Yeah.
2003, that's when shit was
super when I think it was like 2002, 2001 or something.
After 9/11.
When the buildings, 9/11, when that all happened. And then Afghanistan happened. We didn't go into Afghanistan, not our unit at least. And then Kosovo happened shortly, or Iraq happened shortly after that, and we jumped into Iraq, and that was pretty cool too. 2003, the summer of 2003, we went into Iraq.
So you got to live that right there was.
Got to live the initial push. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. We were pretty much living out of a helicopter, and we were helicopters for hire. On the battlefield, we just go out there
bringing people up.
Yeah. Well, our mission was air assault. So the design of our company was insert troops into combat zones and pull people out of hot combat zones and stuff like that. So we carried big machine guns, and we showed up on the battlefield. We put a lot of bullets.
So you're just pushing, let's load up and let's go, continue pushing.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That sounds like some Call of Duty shit, bro. That's crazy.
It was nuts.
But you got to live it.
Yeah, for sure.
To experience it, and still came back to civilian world and pay taxes and just do your thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy, bro. So that was Afghanistan in what?
So there was Iraq, and then they were back to back, 4th Division. Iraq, we came home for 9 months, went to Afghanistan, came home for I think 6 months, went back to Iraq, and so it was 4 rotations just back to back in a row that we did. And my last rotations, I came home, and my wife asked for a divorce, and so I was like, I'm getting out. So I got out of the Army.
That was how many years in?
13.
13. Yeah, so 13. You needed 7 more to
retire.
Retire.
Yeah.
More than half we stayed.
Yeah. I know. I never thought that I would get out of the Army early. I thought I was one of those guys that
you were gonna retire there.
The Army had to kick me out. That was the only way I was getting out.
There's
guys that are 30 years plus in the Army, right? They don't want to get out.
That's a life they like.
Right. That's a life they like.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy, bro. So that happens. You come back. You were in Texas, right? During the
Texas. Yeah. Well, that's where my ex-wife is from. So I got out and stayed in Texas with my girls. My daughters are there, so I stayed there for a while. And I came back to California about five plus years, maybe a little over 5 years now. Been back here in California, And 17 actually is when I came back. What is that? 5 years?
For 5 years, yeah. Then you decide to take up on your skills and you start working on your own or a company.
No, so I started working for Air Methods here in Thermal Airport, and I was doing little side jobs here and there. And the owner of Bermuda Dunes Airport asked if I'd be interested in opening up a shop, and I told him, I said, well, I'd love to, but I don't have any tooling, or I don't have any money to.
Capital's pretty big.
I can't afford it. So he said, we'll give you 6 months free, and see what you think. If you like it, you can stay, and if you don't, then you can go be on your way. Mm-hmm. And so it worked out, man. 6 months free was just what I needed to get started. Build up clientele, build up the capital to slowly start buying tools. And I realize now the importance of slow progression in business. Like, if it just all falls in your lap correctly and you don't have to work, you don't have to solve the little problems along the way.
You don't appreciate.
Well, it's not even appreciation. Appreciation's a big part of it, but it's ability, it's knowledge, right, that comes with the slow progression. And so when you do have the little hurdles, the little obstacles, or the little, what do I do here? You know how to deal with them. If it all just fell in your lap, you probably wouldn't be able to deal with the problems as they come. You know what I mean?
It's like us. Like, we start with the cheapy camera,
Yeah.
We make magic with that cheap camera because it makes no sense to start shooting with something super expensive when you don't even know the basics.
Exactly.
You gotta be able to engineer your way into things, and with that one thing, make it happen.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure it was the same thing with you.
Oh,
you had very limited amount of tools, but you were able to fix so many things with those tools.
Yeah,
and then eventually you build.
Well, like a good example is like Continental engines have a big fuel control requirement, and it's a big complicated process. So these fuel controls are designed to lean out. Basically, what leaning means is give the right amount of air and fuel mixture for that cylinder to run. And air density changes as you go up in altitude, so that fuel control needs to, what's called auto lean. It needs to change the mixture of fuel and air automatically to keep that engine running at the correct RPM. So to dial that in, is complicated. And all the tooling and equipment involved in it is expensive. But the first time I did a fuel control, it took me about 2 months. No shit, right? It took me 2 months.
2 months.
Now I can do it in about 4 hours.
Oh wow!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's how important tools is.
Exactly. That's how. Well, not just that, but the learning. Like if someone just said, "Well, here's a tooling. Now you can do fuel controls."
No, it doesn't work.
There's no way. It don't work that way. You got to go through the pain of learning. Before you can actually effectively use those.
You got to pay the price.
You got to pay the price.
You got to pay the price.
You got to climb the stairs. You can't just magically show up on top of the food chain. You got to climb the stairs. So.
A lot of trial and error, I assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome, brother. So now that all that settled in, now you have your shop. What you have going on right now, and what the future holds?
Yeah, we got
we got this bad boys
over here, right? We got this big old beautiful 310. Thanks to Manuel Martinez, man. He really put this together for us. But this thing, we're gonna do a lot of different ideas with this thing. One of the near things we're going to try to do is wine tasting, right? So we got 4 locations, 2 west of here. One's Catalina, one is Santa Barbara, and we got 2 east of here, Sonoma and Las Vegas, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to fly. Manuel's working on the wineries, and what we're going to do is we're going to fly people there. They're going to do a wine tasting, and we're going to have a bottle of champagne or whatever vineyard we're going to. We'll have a bottle of that in the aircraft. And so they fly back. So the idea is someone can fly to Catalina Island, go through a whole wine tasting, have lunch with their friends, and be back by 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Not have to worry about it.
And not have to worry about it, right? Exactly. Yeah. We'll park their cars in the hangar, or whatever they want to. We'll set up travel arrangements. But it's a fast way of having these really cool experiences. Like if you want to go to Sedona, you don't have to drive 12 hours and spend the night. We can have you there by 8 in the morning. You can or 9 or 10, whatever. You can have your wine tasting, have lunch, get on the plane, and be back in an hour. So or 30 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's super cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
And I mean, if you have like a special, I assume. I mean, people, you want to propose to your girl or do something special. Obviously
100%.
you're not doing this every weekend, but you want to do something special. Like what better way, you know, go on a plane, you go to a special spot, you have all this 8-list type of treatment, you know.
Exactly.
It's that's a genius idea. So
it is. No, and it's good. And it's cool, man, because, you know, we're talking about you know, reaching out to the Hispanic community and making things like this affordable and real, and you know, just bringing this to our community, bringing this to our you know, not just Hispanic, anybody. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who, you know, who anybody's welcome.
Thank you so much, brother, for having us here. This is some of our first episodes, and
cool, man. Yeah,
and sponsoring this episode and allowing us to shoot here, and there's gonna be a lot of cool stuff. So make sure to check it out. Francisco Esquivel from Coachella Valley Aviation, right here. We'll see you guys until next one.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother. Yeah.